This is the story of a man who rose from the depths of poverty and violence to become the most feared fighter on the planet. A man who achieved unimaginable fame and fortune only to lose it all to his inner demons. But this is also a story of redemption, of how even the baddest man on earth found his way back to the light. This is the story of Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was born on June 30th, 1966, in Brooklyn, New York, to Jimmy Kirkpatrick and Lorna Tyson. Mike's father abandoned the family when he was just 2 years old, leaving his mother to raise him and his two siblings in poverty. Growing up in the tough Brownsville neighborhood, Mike faced many challenges. He was small for his age and spoke with a lisp, making him a target for bullies. To survive, he learned to fight back. By age 13, he had been arrested 38 times. But Mike's life would change forever when he was sent to the Tryon School for Boys, a reform school in upstate New York. It was there that he met Bobby Stewart, a counselor and former boxer who introduced Mike to the sport that would define his life. Impressed by Mike's raw talent, Stewart introduced him to legendary boxing trainer Cus D'Amato. Cus immediately saw Mike's potential and told him, "You have a chance to be the greatest fighter who ever lived." He took the troubled 13-year-old under his wing. Under Cus's guidance, Mike developed an intimidating boxing style, bobbing and weaving his way inside his opponent's guard to deliver devastating hooks and uppercuts. Cus also instilled in Mike an unshakable confidence and a killer instinct. Mike turned pro in 1985 and quickly made a name for himself with a string of brutal knockouts. Just a year later, at age 20, he became the youngest heavyweight champion in history when he defeated Trevor Berbick for the WBC title. Over the next few years, Mike was unstoppable. He unified the heavyweight titles with wins over James Smith and Tony Tucker. His fights became major media events, with his terrifying ring entrances and vicious knockouts making headlines around the world. At his peak, Mike's aura of invincibility and raw charisma made him a global icon, the most famous athlete on the planet. He lived a life of excess and extravagance, spending lavishly on mansions, cars, jewelry, and even pet tigers. But even as he reached the pinnacle of his sport, the seeds of Mike's downfall were being sown. Cus, the man who had been like a father to him, died in 1985. Without Cus's guidance, Mike began to surround himself with an entourage of hangers-on who didn't have his best interests at heart. The fall. Mike's life began to spiral out of control. In 1988, he fired Kevin Rooney, the trainer who had been with him since his amateur days. He married actress Robin Givens, but their volatile relationship ended in a messy public divorce just a year later. In 1990, in one of the biggest upsets in sports history, Mike lost his heavyweight titles to 42-1 underdog James "Buster" Douglas. It was a stunning fall from grace for a man who had seemed invincible. Things only got worse from there. In 1991, Mike was arrested and charged with the rape of Desiree Washington, a Miss Black America contestant. He was convicted the following year and sentenced to 6 years in prison. While incarcerated, Mike converted to Islam and adopted the name Malik Abdulaziz. He was released in 1995 after serving less than 3 years. Mike attempted to resurrect his boxing career, but he was a shadow of his former self. In 1996, he won back 2 of his titles by defeating Frank Bruno and Bruce Seldon. But in his next fight, he was stopped by Evander Holyfield in a huge upset. Their 1997 rematch became one of the most infamous fights in boxing history. Frustrated by Holyfield's headbutts, Mike bit off a chunk of his opponent's ear, resulting in his disqualification. It was a bizarre and shocking act that seemed to encapsulate how far Mike had fallen. As the years went on, Mike's behavior became increasingly erratic and self-destructive. He racked up millions in debt, declared bankruptcy, and served more time in jail for assaulting 2 motorists. His lowest point came in 2009, when his 4-year-old daughter Exodus died in a tragic accident. The loss sent Mike into a deep depression and drug addiction that nearly killed him. It was then, at his absolute rock bottom, that Mike finally had a moment of clarity. He realized that he needed to change his life, or he would end up dead or back in prison. The road to redemption. Mike got sober and began the long, hard work of rebuilding his life. He mended fences with his family, including his ex-wife Monica and their children. He embraced his Muslim faith and started speaking openly about his struggles with addiction and mental health. Slowly but surely, Mike began to turn his life around. He re-entered the public eye, not as the fearsome fighter he had once been, but as a humbled and wiser man seeking to make amends for his past. He collaborated with filmmaker James Toback on the raw and revealing documentary Tyson. He performed a one-man stage show on Broadway, Mike Tyson, Undisputed Truth, in which he laid bare his triumphs and his demons. Mike also found new purpose by working with at-risk youth, using his own story as a cautionary tale. He started a cannabis company, Tyson Ranch, and became an advocate for the medicinal benefits of the drug that had once been his downfall. In 2020, at age 54, Mike returned to the ring for an exhibition fight against Roy Jones Jr., showing flashes of his old speed and power. But more importantly, he showed how far he had come as a man, the baddest man on the planet. Today, Mike Tyson is a far cry from the raging bull who once terrorized the heavyweight division. He is a family man, a businessman, a philanthropist, and a seeker of wisdom and inner peace. But he will always be remembered as one of the most ferocious and electrifying fighters who ever lived. A man who, for a few brief years, was truly the baddest man on the planet. Mike's story is one of incredible highs and devastating lows, of talent and success squandered, and of the power of the human spirit to overcome even the darkest of circumstances. It's a reminder that our past does not have to define our future. That no matter how far we fall, redemption is always possible if we are willing to do the work. Mike Tyson's legacy in the ring is secure. But perhaps his greatest achievement has been outside of it, the hard-fought battle to conquer his demons and become a better man. As Mike himself has said, "Iron Mike is dead. I'm not that guy anymore. I'm not the baddest man on the planet. I'm just Mike Tyson, a grateful, recovering addict trying to live life on life's terms." And that, in the end, is the true story of Mike Tyson. Not just the rise and fall of a champion, but the redemption of a man. A man who, against all odds, found a way to pick himself up off the canvas and keep fighting. Enjoyed the video? Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the Fulton Draper channel for more awesome content. Keep watching and stay updated by pressing the subscribe button.